My name is Messi. I live in a small village. In my village, few people speak English, but I have a big dream. I want to learn English. I know it will open many doors for me. It will help me meet people from all over the world. One day, I decided it was time. I wanted to make my dream come true. I told my family and friends. They were surprised but supportive. I started to prepare for my big adventure. I saved money. I read about the big city. I was excited and a bit scared. Finally, the day came. You can read my story and learn English with me. Lesson 1. I packed my bag. I said goodbye to my village. It is a beautiful summer day, and I am traveling on a train. There are two ladies sitting opposite me. I don't know them, but from their conversation, I know they are foreigners. I don't understand much of what they are saying, but I know they speak English. I also want to speak English, but I am a beginner and don't know many words. However, this is an opportunity for me to speak English. I decide to try to speak to the ladies. I say some sentences in my basic English, and they understand what I say. I don't know many words, and I speak slowly, but the ladies are kind and patient. I am able to have a simple conversation with them. I tell them that I want to learn English. They are happy when they hear that and tell me they are from England. They are traveling home from a conference. We speak for about 10 minutes, then it's time for me to get off the train. While I am thanking them for speaking with me, they give me their address and phone number, telling me I can visit them in England if I want to. Then we say goodbye. This is how my journey in learning English begins. After this meeting, I decide to work on my English skills more. I translate texts and watch films in English. I work on my English for 2 hours almost every day. In 5 months, I am able to speak quite well. It is great, but I want to know more. I decide to go to London to study English there. In London, I choose a school that I expect to be good. I really look forward to my first lesson. The lesson is on Monday. On my first day at school, I meet my teacher and the other students in the class. My teacher is a young lady. She is very nice. She asks everybody to introduce themselves and say where they are from. Then the lesson starts. Our teacher asks us how we studied English before and what we suppose is the best method to learn English. I tell my teacher that I like translating songs and other texts, but I don't know what the best method to learn English is. Our teacher says that she will teach us a very effective method based on using the language. She tells us that we will not have to study and we will not use textbooks. We will immerse ourselves in the language. It is great for me since I don't like studying and I don't like textbooks. Then we speak about what we should focus on when we learn a new language. Our teacher tells us we need languages for communication. Languages help us express and understand ideas. So when you learn a new language, the best way to learn is to use it for exchanging ideas. This is what we will do in our course. Most of the time, we will speak. You spoke a lot when you learned your native language as a child, and you should speak a lot when you learn English as an adult. Unfortunately, many students spend a lot of time memorizing new words or learning grammar rules. They don't use English for speaking. They study about the language but don't use it very much. Of course, you need to learn new words and new grammar, but you don't actually have to study them. During this course, I will show you a very simple and effective way to learn new words and grammar. I like what our teacher says. Our lesson continues. We speak about our hobbies and what we do in our free time. We speak in pairs or with our teacher. It is great, and we speak for the entire lesson. I enjoy it so much. I have never spoken so much English during one lesson in my life. I have never learned this way before. I am happy, and I look forward to the next lesson. When you want to learn English, use English for communication. Lesson 2. How to learn words. I go to school on Tuesday again. One of the students asks a question that is interesting to me. She asks, "What is the best way to learn new words?" Our teacher says there are many things you can do to learn new words. I will tell you what is statistically the most effective way for learning new words: reading. When people read while learning a new language, they learn twice as fast as those who don't read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. I want to show you what you should do if you want to get the maximum gains from reading. First, it is very important that the book or text you read is interesting to you. It is essential that you enjoy reading. The book can be a nice story, or it can have some useful information for your job or hobby. Don't read a text that isn't interesting to you. It is also good to read a text in which you know most of the words. When you don't know many words, you can get frustrated. You always want to enjoy everything you do while using English. It is good to choose a text that is interesting and suitable for your level. When you read the text and see a word that you don't understand, get a dictionary and look up the word. Then continue reading. You don't have to write the word anywhere. You don't have to make a list of new words. And you don't have to try to remember the word. You only focus on understanding the text. When it is clear to you what the word means, you can continue reading. Anytime there is a new word for you, do the same. Reading also has another great advantage. When you read, you learn new words and how every word is connected to other words in the sentence. Then you can see how to link the words correctly. This way of learning new words is very effective. Give it a try, and you will see how fast you can learn new words. Then we continue with the lesson. We speak about the situation in England and about the best jobs for students. This is good for me because I want to have a job and do something after my class. I ask other students if they know where I can find a job, and they tell me that I should go to a job center. The job center offers a lot of jobs for students. This is good for me, and I am happy that I know where I can find a job. When my day at school is finished, I go to the job center. I don't know what jobs I can do, so I ask the lady at the job center what the best job for a student is. The lady tells me that they have some good jobs for students, mentioning that I can be a cleaner or a waiter in a cafe. I tell the lady I have no experience doing these jobs. She assures me that my English is good enough to work at the cafe, that the training is not difficult, and that I will have more chances to speak English than if I were a cleaner. She tells me I can start my job on Thursday. It's all good for me. I'm happy that I have a job where I can practice English. When you want to learn new words effectively, read for 30 minutes every day. Lesson 3. How to learn pronunciation. On Wednesday, I go to school again. There is one student in the class who is quieter than the other students. He is from South Korea. When our teacher asks if we have any questions for her, this student from Korea says he has a question. He expresses that he has a big problem with pronunciation and knows that his pronunciation is not very good, but he doesn't know how to improve it. He doesn't speak much because he doesn't want others to listen to his bad pronunciation. He says that he reads and watches films in English a lot. He understands very well, but he also wants to improve his speaking. He asks if there is something he could do to improve his pronunciation. When my teacher hears this, she says, "Okay, I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach you a great technique that can help all of you to be better at pronunciation. First, we have to look at why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we have to move our mouths. We have to use the muscles in our mouths. We all do that. The problem is that when you speak English, sometimes you use your muscles the same way you would in your native language, and then your pronunciation is different from that of native speakers. This happens to many students who learn English. Almost everybody has a slightly different pronunciation than they should have. In fact, it is not a big problem, because usually people understand what you want to say, even though your pronunciation is not perfect. However, you can work on your pronunciation and make it better. There is a great technique that can help you a lot. The name of this technique is shadowing. The technique is very simple. When you do shadowing, you simply copy the sound that you hear immediately after hearing it. When children learn their first language, they learn it by copying. They copy after their parents again and again until their pronunciation is perfect. You can learn English pronunciation in the same way. Here's what you can do. Take some video or audio recordings that are not very fast and that you understand very well. You listen and copy what you hear when you hear it. That is all. Then our teacher goes to www.youtube.com and searches for the shadowing technique. She finds a good video where the shadowing technique is well demonstrated. We watch the video. Then we all try to do shadowing for about 3 minutes. Then our teacher tells us that shadowing is also good when you are preparing for a presentation you have to give in English and you want to have your pronunciation as close as possible to that of native speakers. Before the presentation, you can go to a place where you are alone and do shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will see how much it will help you to have better pronunciation during the presentation. This is very interesting for me. I haven't heard about this technique before. When the lesson finishes, I go to the school reception and ask the lady if there are any sports activities at school. I would like to play some sport in England. The lady at the reception says, "Yes, we have a table tennis team and a football team. The football team has training today at 8 a.m. I am very happy because sports are very important in my life. I go to the training of the football team and meet a lot of players from different countries. The players are from Brazil, Japan, Vietnam, Spain, Argentina, and Italy. I like the training, and I am very happy that my time in England starts well. I have a great teacher, and I also have some new friends from my football team. Also, tomorrow I am starting my job. When you want to have good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers." Lesson 4. How to practice speaking. On Thursday, I go to school again. We have a new student in our class. Her name is Na, and she is from Italy. At the beginning of the lesson, my teacher asks her how her life is. My teacher knows Na from a year ago when she attended her class, which was for beginners, and lasted only for 2 weeks. During the summer holiday, when Na speaks, her English is beautiful, her pronunciation is very good, and she is very fluent. My teacher is very happy and asks Na, Where did you learn English so well? You speak very fluently. What school did you go to? Na replies, I didn't go to school. I learned English at home. I used the advice and techniques that you taught us last summer. I did a lot of reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. I tried to think more in English than in Italian. This is how I improved my English. The 2 weeks I spent last summer in your class helped me a lot. You showed me the way. I knew exactly how to work on my English every day. That's why I wanted to go to your class again, because 1 year ago I was a beginner, and now I can speak English. I want to learn from you again. My teacher is very happy when she hears these words. She thanks Na for sharing her experience. It is all very interesting for me. I already know about the importance of reading. I also know the shadowing technique, but Na also mentions thinking aloud. I don't know what it is, so I ask our teacher, what is thinking aloud? Our teacher says, it is a very simple and powerful technique, but you have to have a strong motivation to learn English if you want to benefit from this technique. It is also good to know that for some people, this technique is a little bit crazy. However, when you start to think aloud, your English can improve very fast. I say, I have a strong motivation. I don't care if the technique is crazy. If it helps, I want to learn it. Can you teach us this technique? Okay, our teacher says. It is actually very simple. You usually think in your native language all day, every day. It is normal. Now you can start to think in English instead of your native language. When you start thinking in English, then you can think aloud. It means that you actually say aloud what you think. Is that all? I ask. It looks very simple. You said that it is a powerful technique. Why is it powerful? Our teacher says, maybe you can ask Na. She has used this technique for a year. Maybe she can tell us what she has found out about this technique. Then our teacher asks Na if she is willing to speak about her experience with thinking aloud. It is no problem for Na. She says, when I started with this technique, it wasn't easy. I started with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day. I don't know many words, but I can use these words well. I can express my ideas with these words. I can do this. This is great. The sentences were really simple, and I realized that sentences that I thought in Italian were long and complicated. I wasn't able to say in English exactly what I was saying in Italian. I had to find a simpler form. Thinking in simple English was the hardest part, but after some time I got used to it. Then it was normal for me to think in English. Then something interesting happened. I met a man from Spain who was on holiday in France. I was still a beginner, but we started to speak English. I could see that I was able to speak with him without big problems. My sentences were still simple and short, but because I said them many times before when I was thinking aloud, I was able to speak. I didn't have to translate in my head from Italian to English as I did before. Using this technique, after the meeting with the man from Spain, I started to use thinking aloud even more. This technique helped me a lot. It improved my ability to express my ideas very much. I still use it every day. It is really a powerful technique. After school, I go to the cafe where my job training starts. I don't know what to expect. I have never worked at a cafe, and I'm not sure if I can do this job. When I come to the cafe, I am very surprised. It is a modern cafe that sells coffee, tea, chocolate, cakes, and sandwiches. My boss is only 20 years old, but she has been working at the cafe for more than 3 years. She has a lot of experience and knows everything perfectly. She shows me how to prepare coffee, how to wash the dishes, and how to deal with customers. It is all new for me. I remember only about 20% of what she is telling me, but then she lets me do the work and corrects me when I make a mistake. She is very friendly and I learn fast. After the first day at work, I'm very tired. I had to learn many new things, but I am happy that I have a job. The next day is Friday, and I go to school again. One student asks an interesting question. Sometimes when I speak, I am not sure if I speak correctly. I am not sure if I use correct grammar. Can you help me? What should I do if I want to learn grammar? Our teacher says, "Thank you for your question." There are two groups of students. Some students study English because they want to be able to speak, and some students study English because they want to pass an exam. For each group, there is a different approach. First, I will speak about those who need English for speaking. If this is your case, you don't have to study grammar a lot. When you learned your native language, you also learned it without studying grammar. You can learn English grammar naturally by using the language. The best way to learn grammar naturally is by reading a lot. Books are written in good grammar. When you read, you will learn grammar in the context of the whole sentence. I also recommend shadowing. When you do shadowing, you practice the correct grammar naturally. You don't have to try to remember anything. You only copy sentences with correct grammar. If you need English for speaking but also want to study grammar, you can visit www.mars.com. This website shows what grammar is important for the different levels of English. You can find the most important grammar rules for speaking there. The second group of students are those who study English for passing an exam. If you are one of these students, I recommend studying specifically for this exam. It might be helpful to get the versions of this exam from the past years if they are available and train with them. Of course, your exam will be a little different, but the structure is usually the same or very similar. From my point of view, the versions of the exam from the past years are good training materials. Then I recommend going to the exam only when your results in the training materials are such that you could pass the exam successfully. Did I answer your question? Yes, thank you, says the student. This is good news. I don't like studying grammar. I learn English because I want to be able to speak. I don't need to pass any exam. I am happy that I don't have to study grammar much. I like reading, and I am happy that I can learn grammar by reading books. After the lesson, it is really a nice website. There are grammar rules with examples for each level. They have 3 levels, 500, 1,000, and 2,500 words. In the afternoon, I go to my work. It is my second day, and I can already do a lot of things by myself, but my boss helps me whenever I need it. I see that my work is not very difficult, and I can practice English when I speak to our customers. When you want to have good grammar, read a lot. Lesson 6. How to test your English. It is Monday again, and I go to my school. Our teacher asks us what we did during the weekend. I say that I was at work on Saturday and that I can already do my work quite well. I say that I am happy when I can speak to our customers. When I speak, one of the girls in the class asks me, "What happened to your voice? You sound very different from what we heard last week. Your pronunciation is very good." I smile and say, "Thank you. I'm happy to help you with that." Here's your text organized into a single paragraph with punctuation for clarity. I tried to do shadowing on Saturday evening after my work, and for all of Sunday, I tried to speak like a native speaker. I know that it is still not perfect, but I also noticed a big change in my pronunciation. Our teacher asks if anybody else tried to practice shadowing. 3 students raise their hands. One of them is the student from South Korea who also likes this technique. One student says that she tried the technique, but her mouth hurt a lot after 5 minutes of shadowing, and she had to stop. She also says that she wasn't always able to repeat everything. Sometimes it was hard for her to keep up with the speed of the recording. Our teacher says, "Thank you for trying out this technique. If you do shadowing for the first time and your mouth hurts after 5 minutes, it means that you are doing it correctly. Your muscles need to be trained to this new way of speaking. It is like going to the gym for the first time. Your muscles can hurt if they are not trained. If your mouth's muscles hurt, you can take a break after 5 minutes and continue a bit later. With every 5 minutes of practice, your pronunciation should be a little bit better." Shadowing has other advantages. You practice the correct pronunciation in English, and you also practice other things such as intonation, rhythm, and connecting words in whole sentences. I know that at the beginning the recording can sometimes be too fast. If this happens, you can repeat only the first or the last word in the sentence. With practice, you will be able to repeat more. I agree that this is true. On Saturday, when I started with shadowing, it was quite difficult for me. Yet by Sunday evening, it was quite easy to repeat what I heard. Then I have a question for our teacher. I tell her that I looked at www.ggrammarandls.com. The website is interesting, but I don't know what level is for me because I don't know how many words I know in English. Our teacher asks other students if they know how many words they know in English. It is interesting to see that nobody knows. We know that we are intermediate students, but we don't know how many words we know. Our teacher says there is a website for people who study foreign languages. You can do a test there to find out how many words you know. The test has only 2 steps, and it is really simple. The name of the website is wb-test-languages.com. You can do the test every month, and you can see how much you improve during that month. If you want, you can now take out your smartphones and go to that website to do the test. I want to know how many words I know. I do the test immediately and see that I know 2,300 words in English. Most of the students know between 1,500 and 2,500 words. Only Nina and the boy from Australia know 2,500 words. Our teacher says, "So you can see that when you go to wb-test-languages.com, you should already know grammar from level 1 and level 2. You can start using grammar from level 3, because level 3 is for students who know between 2,200 and 3,200 words. Test your progress every month." Lesson 7. How to handle mistakes. On Tuesday, I go to school again. One student asks our teacher an interesting question. She says, "I would like to practice speaking with people around me, but I'm afraid of making mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. Can you help me?" Our teacher says, "Making mistakes is a very interesting topic. There are a lot of opinions on it. I want to show you what I believe is the best approach. I have a lot of experience with this because I also learn new languages. I still continue doing it. For example, now I am learning Scottish. When I speak Scottish, I don't care if I make mistakes or not. The reason why I don't care about mistakes is simple. When I learned my native language, I didn't care about making mistakes either. So why should I care now? My main goal when I use any language is to express my ideas. That is all. I know that when I read a lot, speak, and do shadowing, my Scottish will be better and better. I know that this can sound incredibly simple, but it is my opinion. This is what I have found after many years of both teaching and learning languages. It works very well for me and many of my students. When I speak, I only concentrate on speaking. At the moment, I know 2,500 words in Scottish. It is the level of a 3-year-old child. 3-year-old children make a lot of mistakes when they speak, but they don't care about their mistakes. They continue using their native language, and when they are 4 years old, they make very few mistakes. When they are 5 years old, they already speak very well with hardly any mistakes. You should have the same attitude now. Most of you know about 2,200 words, so it is absolutely okay to make mistakes from time to time. When you continue using English, there will be fewer and fewer mistakes in your speaking. It is not possible to get better without making mistakes. When you practice English, it is okay not to be perfect. Perfection comes with practice. Anybody who started to learn English started from the beginning, from the same level, which is level 0. Learning languages is like learning to play a musical instrument. It needs to be trained. When you start your training, it is not perfect at first, and you make mistakes. It is normal. Take it as a necessary part of your learning process. If you didn't go through this period of making mistakes, you could not get to higher levels. By continuing to do what you want to learn, the mistakes are gradually being eliminated. If you want to make fewer and fewer mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. When you read, you can read aloud. It can also help you make fewer mistakes in real conversations. Care only about exchanging ideas. Don't care about making mistakes. When you speak, you practice changing your thoughts into words. You don't learn grammar or words. You have other activities for that. Don't worry. Everybody who learns a foreign language makes mistakes from time to time. Even famous people, bosses of big companies, or politicians. When you listen to these people on TV, you see that they don't care about mistakes. They care about what is important, and that is expressing their ideas. You should do the same. Does it make sense? The girl says, "Yes, thank you." If you don't want to make mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. Lesson 8. How to remember words. On Wednesday, I go to school again. At the beginning of the lesson, one student says, "I started to read more. I feel that it is good for me. I can see how my grammar is better, but I have a problem. When I read, I look up a new word in a dictionary, then I continue reading. Sometimes, when I see the same word again only 10 minutes later, I don't remember the word and have to look it up again. Can you help me to remember the words better?" Our teacher says that it is an interesting question and gives this explanation. It is absolutely normal that you don't remember the new word immediately. Usually, you will have to look up the word 5 times before you remember it. There will also be words that you will have to look up 12 or 15 times. These words are usually verbs. When we learn a new word, the word goes through phases. Only when you achieve the last phase do you remember the word very well. There are 5 of these phases. Let's have a look at them. The first phase is the moment when you see the word for the first time and you don't know the word. You look it up in the dictionary. The second phase is the moment when you see the word that you have already looked up in the dictionary or heard or saw in the past. You know that you saw this word before, but you still don't remember its meaning, so you look up the word again. The third phase is the moment when you see the word again and you feel what it could mean, but you are not sure. For example, you know that the word is some kind of object or some animal or a verb. The fourth phase is the moment when you already know what the word means when you see it, but you are not able to recall the word when you want to say it. When this phase happens, the word is in your passive vocabulary. The fifth phase is the moment when you are able to use the word when you speak. Now you can see there are 5 phases altogether. Do you understand now why it is not possible to remember a new word when you see it for the first time? You would have to jump across all the phases with the first encounter with the word. You have to see or hear every word several times and let it go through all the phases until you get to phase number 5. You can be happy not only when you learn a new word perfectly, but also when you get from one phase to the other. When it happens, you are closer to the final goal, and that is to use the word without problems in everyday communication. All of this is interesting to me. I didn't know about these phases, but it is all logical. It also happened to me that I looked up a new word in the dictionary, but 3 minutes later, I didn't know what the word was and had to look it up again. I felt stupid that I didn't remember the word. Now I know that it is absolutely okay not to remember the word forever when I see it for the first time. I need several encounters with the word before I can use it well. After school, I go to my football training. Our coach tells us that there will be a match on Saturday. The school team will play against another school team from Cambridge. Our coach tells me to come and play for the school team. I am very happy, and I am looking forward to the Saturday match. When you want to remember a new word, you need to see or hear the word about 12 times. Lesson 9. How to improve listening. The next day, I go to school again. One of the students has an important question. He wants to know how to improve his listening skills. He wants to know what the best approaches are. Our teacher says, "Thank you for your question." Good listening skills are very important for communication. If you don't understand what people are saying, it will be difficult for you to speak with them. There are a lot of materials on the internet for students of English. Some students can have a problem finding the right listening materials for them. Let's have a look at what you should listen to. There are 2 types of materials which you can listen to. You can listen to some audio, or you can watch a film. These are quite different materials and different rules apply to them. When you listen to some audio, you should know 93% of the words or more. If the audio has a lot of new words, read the text first if possible, and make sure you know all the words. When you practice listening, you practice getting information from spoken language. You don't try to learn new words. Of course, sometimes you can learn new words, but it is not the main goal. When you listen, concentrate on getting information from spoken English. It is important to use materials at your level of English. For example, you can use books in simplified English, which contain an audio recording. I really recommend these books to you. They are fantastic because you can choose a book at your level of English. When you have such a book, read the book first and then listen to the recording at home or when you travel. You can read great books at www.robinsoncrusoe.com or www.lprincess.com. You can also visit www.news.com if you like listening to the news. All these materials are in 3 levels of English. The second type of materials for listening practice are films and videos on www.youtube.com. These are also great. You can start using them when you know 2,500 words in English or more. This is what you should do with a film. Watch it for the first time with subtitles so that you know what the film is about, then watch the film without subtitles. If you like the film very much, you can watch it more than once. When you watch one film many times with every view, you will understand more. It is also good to watch videos on the internet about interesting subjects. For example, if you like nature, you can watch documentaries about nature. You can also watch reality shows. Reality shows are much easier to understand than films or documentaries because the structure of the show is usually the same. It is necessary to have at least 35 minutes a day of listening. The more you listen, the faster you will understand more words. When listening, you should always look at what you already understand, even if it is just 12% at the beginning. It is very easy to demotivate yourself by realizing all of the parts that you don't understand yet. Look at what you already know and be happy for every new sentence you have understood. Listening is the easiest way to learn. You don't have to do anything. You just listen. Did this information help you? Yes, says the student. Thank you. The listening topic is very interesting for me. Now I know what to do to improve my listening. When you want to be good at listening, listen for 35 minutes every day. Lesson 12. What you need before you start. On Friday, we have an interesting conversation in our class. Our teacher has a question for us. She asks, "What was your first reason to learn English?" Do you remember the moment when you started to learn English? When did you start to be really interested in the language? I say that I remember the moment when I started to be interested in English. My teacher says, "Can you tell us what happened?" I say, "Yes. First, I have to say that English wasn't always my favorite subject. I started to learn English at high school. At the beginning, it was very difficult for me. I didn't understand the structure of the language. It was illogical to me. I tried to remember words. I tried to learn grammar, but it was very hard. When I finished high school, I was still only a beginner. I couldn't speak English, and I believed that I would never learn this language properly. I simply believed that English wasn't for me. Then something happened. I always liked music, and when I was 22, I started to listen to the Beatles. I wanted to understand what they were singing, so I started to translate their songs. Slowly, I understood more and more. Then I met two ladies from England on a train. We had a simple conversation, but it helped me very much. I started to believe that I could learn English. From that moment on, I was working on my English almost every day, and I was getting better and better. Then I decided to go to England and improve my English here. My teacher thanks me for sharing my story. She also tells me, "Here is something very interesting about your story. You are still you. The first, you didn't have motivation to learn English. The second, you had motivation. You wanted to understand songs. You can see that motivation is very important. When you have it, you can succeed. When you don't have it, it is very hard to be successful." Then our teacher asks everybody in the class about their motivation to learn English. The stories are very interesting. One girl's motivation is to be able to read historical books in original English. One student wants to be a professional tennis coach in England. He wants to speak perfect English before he starts his career as a coach. One woman wants to work for a big international company, and she needs English for her job. I can see that everybody has some kind of motivation to use English in real life or to get information from books. At the end of the lesson, our teacher asks us if we like English. I say I didn't like English in high school, but now I like it a lot. I can see how useful it is to know this language. Our teacher says this is another important factor when you learn a new language. It is good when you like something connected to English, such as people, music, culture, or history. If you like English, it is easier to learn. If you want to be able to communicate in English, it is good to know 3,200 words or more. If you don't like English, it is more difficult to find time to practice enough to reach the level of 3,200 words. I agree with my teacher. Now I like not only the Beatles, but also my teacher and my boss, who is also English. I also appreciate English humor. Now it is much easier for me to find time to practice English every day. On Saturday, I go to play football for my school team. We have some very good players on our team, and we win 4-3. We are all very happy, so we go to the pub after the match to celebrate our victory. When you want to learn English, you need motivation to use English every day. Lesson 12. How to learn 3,300 words. During the next lesson, one of the students asks our teacher this question. You told us that it is good to know 3,300 words. Where can I find these 3,300 words that are the most important for me to learn? My teacher replies, you can Google a list of the 3,300 most frequent words in English, but such a list will not help you much. When you start to learn words from this list, you will learn words outside of context. You will learn the words that are not connected with any story, and you won't learn what other words are connected with these words in sentences. You'll learn them in your short-term memory. This system works only for some words, like basic words which describe things and people around us. For example, mother, father, apple, blue, orange, dog, cat, book, car, house, city, boy, girl, water, cinema, or paper. These are words which represent something that you can easily imagine. For example, when you learn the word dog, you know immediately what it is. You have a clear idea in your head of what the word means. Yet, when you want to learn words such as appreciate or suppose, This system doesn't work well. This is a problem many students experience. They start their studies by using lists of words. It works at the beginning, and they believe they can learn English this way. They don't know that when they achieve the level of 1,200 words, they have to start using a different system. If you want to learn words from a higher level, you have to learn them from whole sentences. If you understand the meaning of a word in the context of a sentence, you will learn the word much better. You can learn words from lists, but there is usually a limit to how far you can go with this way of learning, and it is 1,000 words. Also, this way of learning is very slow. There are much better methods which we have already spoken about, such as reading. For beginners, the best book to read is Robinson Crusoe in Simple English. You can find this book at www.robinsoncrusoe.com. It is the best book I know for learning new words for beginners. There is also one interesting rule that applies here. Every word that is important for you will come back into your life again and again until you learn it. This is very similar to the way we learn our own language when we are children. We don't study from lists of words. We just use the language, and important words keep coming into our lives again and again until one day we know what the words mean. We keep learning new words this way all our lives. For example, the verb Google is a new word in many languages. We learned this word by using the language. We didn't learn it from any list of words. When you heard the word Google for the first time, you probably didn't know what it meant. Then you heard it again and again as the word was important for you, and after some time, you understood it. You can forget about lists of words. Learn new words by reading stories and other interesting texts. When you use English a lot every day, you will learn new words more effectively than from lists. Does it make sense? Yes, says the student. Thank you. After school, I go to work. I already understand how to do my job very well. Things start to be automatic. I am happy that I understand my customers. It is not very difficult because the conversations are usually very similar. Our customers want some coffee or sandwiches, so the words are usually the same or very similar. My confidence grows, and sometimes I start to have longer conversations with our customers. Everything is good. But then something happens that is a little shocking for me. When you learn a new word, learn it as part of a whole sentence. Lesson 12. How to improve your accent. On Tuesday, when I am at work, something interesting happens. Two customers come to our cafe. They are a husband and a wife. The man starts to speak to me. I know that he speaks English, but I don't understand him. I think that he wants something we don't have, so I call my boss. She speaks with the man and sells him 2 coffees and 2 of our regular sandwiches. I am surprised when they leave. I go to my boss and tell her that I am sorry I didn't understand the man. She says that it is okay. This can happen when people speak with an accent that is new to us. She tells me that the pair was from Scotland. The next day, I go to school and tell this story to my teacher. I tell her that I felt really stupid that I didn't understand our customer. I wasn't sure if my English was good enough for my job. I started to doubt myself. My boss was okay with it, but I still needed some help from my teacher. I wanted to know what I could do in these situations. My teacher says, I understand you are used to English that people speak in London, but you aren't used to the Scottish accent. Your ears aren't used to listening to the Scottish accent. All you have to do is listen more to Scottish English. You need to train your ears to this accent as well. What happened to you can happen to everybody. When you already speak English at some level and go to a country where people speak with a different accent, you shouldn't be surprised if you don't understand. It's okay, and it usually takes about 2 weeks to get used to a new accent. You shouldn't think there's something wrong with you if you don't understand. With practice, you can train your ears to any accent. Then I ask, so what can I do to understand the Scottish accent? I don't live in Scotland. Our teacher says, you can watch films with Scottish English or situation comedies from Scotland, and soon you'll understand. I tell her thank you. After school, I go to work again. At about 4 o'clock, 2 interesting customers come to our cafe. This time, they are not from Scotland. They are foreigners who want to buy coffee. They are 2 ladies, and it's clear their English is very basic. My boss is serving them, and when she hears that they don't speak English very well, she does something very interesting. She changes her English, using very simple sentences with only 3 or 4 words. I can see that the ladies understand her. They buy 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches, and 2 cakes. They are happy, and my boss is happy too. When the ladies leave, I tell my boss that it was very nice how she adjusted her English so they would understand. She replies that sometimes she has to speak in very simple English. It doesn't matter if the customers speak English well or not. They are our customers, and we have to do everything possible to make them feel comfortable. If they see they can speak English here, they can come to our cafe every day. I think our boss is a good businesswoman. She does everything possible to make our customers happy. It's true that we have a lot of customers. Our cafe is busy every day. When you want to understand people with a special accent, listen to audio with that accent for some time. Lesson 15. What you can do at your level. Next day at school, I tell my teacher about my experience with my boss and the 2 ladies who didn't speak English very well. Our teacher responds, "Great! Your boss must be a very clever young lady. It's true that you can communicate with everybody. Even people who speak English very well can have a conversation with those who are just at the beginning of their journey." Today, we will discuss different levels of English and what you should be able to do at each level. Let's start with the lowest level of 1,200 words. At this level, students can speak about some basic things from everyday life. Speaking is very limited, but it's possible to communicate slowly for a short time with people who want to speak with you. Your sentences are short, usually containing 4 words. If the others also speak in short sentences, you can have a basic conversation. When students move to a higher level, which is 2,200 words, conversations become easier and sentences are longer. This is the level most of you in this class are at right now. You should be able to speak about many things from your life, including family, hobbies, jobs, and traveling. Sometimes you may have a problem when trying to engage in deeper conversations on certain topics. However, this level is usually sufficient for everyday use of English. If you want to have deeper conversations on many topics, it's good to know 3,300 words. Your goal as a student of English who wants to speak well should be to learn 3,300 words. Of course, you can learn more than that. The more words you know, the easier it will be for you to communicate in English. but 3,300 words is usually enough for communicating about almost everything. I think the two ladies at your cafe knew about 1,200 words, and your boss met them at their level to have a basic conversation. After school, I go to work, and the two ladies come to our cafe again, bringing two of their friends. It's my turn to serve them, and I speak to them in simple, short sentences. They understand me. This is great. They tell me they are tourists from Japan and that they like our cafe because people understand them here. Lesson 15. What to do when you are shy. On Thursday, I go to school again. One student has a very interesting question. I am very shy when I have to speak English. Can you help me overcome my shyness? Our teacher responds, it's true that when we use foreign languages, it's natural to feel uncertain or shy. We are doing something we're not perfect at, and the possibility of making a mistake is great. I was also very shy when I learned foreign languages. I remember well how I was afraid to make a mistake, and when I did, I felt stupid and sometimes blushed. Now it's different. I use languages for communication, and I care only about that. You know that I'm learning Scottish these days. Embarrassing situations can happen, but they can't stop me from using it. It's true that sometimes I still feel shy when I speak Scottish, and I might blush, but I don't care much about it. It's a natural feeling that never lasts forever. I continue using Scottish because I know that only by using it can I improve. I try to see things as they are. I'm a student on the way to good Scottish. It's not possible to skip several levels in one day. A beginner can't become a perfect speaker in 1 hour. I also see what I mean to people around me. When I can already speak some Scottish, I have value to those who speak it. You should see the same when you can speak some English. You can have a conversation with others in English. That's great. Look at what you already know. You know 2,200 words. You've gone from 0 to 2,200 words. Here's a revised version of your text for clarity and flow. Some students feel that knowing English means speaking like a native speaker, having perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar, and never making mistakes. They think that if they don't achieve this, they don't really know English. This can lead to embarrassment and harsh self-criticism. It's important to remember that you are all doing great because you already speak some English. Continue working on your skills, and your shyness will gradually fade. I appreciate what our teacher tells us. I sometimes feel shy, too. I know I should practice speaking more, but in certain situations, I hesitate because I don't want to feel stupid. I decide to be braver and use those moments to practice. Then one student shares, sometimes I want to say something, but I don't know the word. I freeze and feel stupid. The next time I can speak, I don't want to because I dread that situation. Our teacher responds, when you start speaking English, you need to prepare. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated with all our latest videos. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Happy learning, everyone!